I'm a child my parents adopted from an orphanage. They treated me well. Every night before bed, I would pray, begging God not to send me back to the orphanage. Then Mom got pregnant with a baby. I hid under my blanket and cried all night, quietly packing the small suitcase I arrived with, but they didn't send me away. Instead, they treated me even better. The day my brother was born, Mom held my hand and gently stroked my head. Lily, now you'll have a little brother to keep you company. Dad lifted me above his head, spinning around happily. You're our family's lucky star, the most precious treasure to Mom and Dad. I finally stopped living in constant fear, thinking I'd truly become part of this family until that day, when my brother broke my beloved astronaut model. I got so angry that I pushed him. He stumbled and sat down on the floor, bursting into tears. Mom panicked instantly. She shoved me aside and pulled my brother into her arms, asking him over and over if he was hurt. Dad rushed over, gripping my shoulders and pinning me against the wall. His eyes were frighteningly red. Lily, after raising you all these years, you actually bully your brother? Believe it or not, I'll send you back right now. Nathan, Mom stopped him, and Dad's words remained unfinished, but I already understood. The kids at the orphanage were right. Children like us who were adopted once the family has their own kids will eventually be sent back. I was too foolish, thinking I'd be the special one. I bit my lip and said nothing, watching as Mom and Dad comforted my brother and laughed. The sound of the door closing was soft, but it landed on my heart like a stone, causing sharp pain. I thought I would cry, but my eyes were dry. Nothing came out. I just stood in the living room for a long time, then returned to my room and dragged out that small suitcase from under the bed. 5 years ago, I'd come to this home with that very suitcase. I was still very young, then too young to remember what the orphanage looked like. I only remembered Mom crouching down to look at me, her eyes bright, asking, "Would you like to come home with me?" I nodded, and she smiled a smile more beautiful than anyone's at the orphanage. But just now, there was no smile in her eyes. When she left holding my brother's hand, she didn't even look back at me. Dad didn't either. I knew they must really be planning to send me back rather than wait for them to say it. I might as well take the initiative myself. That way at least it wouldn't be too humiliating. I could tell the kids at the orphanage they didn't abandon me. I chose to come back myself, though they probably wouldn't believe me. I gently brushed the dust off the suitcase, pulled open the somewhat rusty zipper, and began packing. I started with some clothes, my favorite pink dress, the sweater Mom knitted last year, and that slightly peeled red scarf. I folded them neatly and placed them in the suitcase. I didn't dare take too much, afraid they'd think I was too greedy. Then toys. I hesitated for a long time and finally took only 2 things, a gray stuffed rabbit and a plastic star necklace. The stuffed rabbit was what Mom had tucked into my arms on my first night in this home. She'd said, "Let it sleep with you, and you won't be scared." It was already worn and tattered, with one ear crooked, but it was the first gift I'd received in this home. I couldn't bear to leave it behind. The star necklace was something Dad brought back from a business trip. It even had my name engraved on it. Finally, I took a family photo. It was taken shortly after I first came to this home 5 years ago. In the photo, I was held between Mom and Dad, smiling so hard my eyes disappeared. I carefully wrapped the frame in the sweater and placed it in the middle of the clothes. That way, when I missed them, I could look at it. After packing everything, I closed the suitcase and zipped it up. The suitcase was heavier than when I'd arrived. I tested lifting it. I could barely manage. Outside, the sky had turned completely dark. I sat on the suitcase, quietly waiting for Mom and Dad to come home. When they returned, if they really wanted to send me away, I would say, "Okay, I've already packed." What if they wanted me to stay? If they kept me, I'd put the suitcase back and pretend nothing had happened. 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock. 9 o'clock. They still hadn't come back. Were they deliberately giving me time to leave on my own? Perhaps I should be more tactful. At 9:05, I stood up and took one last look at my room. On the desk lay unfinished homework. On the bed was the blanket Mom had aired out just yesterday, still carrying the scent of sunshine. On the windowsill was a succulent Mom and I had planted together. We promised to watch it bloom and grow together. What a pity. I wouldn't be there to see that day. I gently closed the door, dragged my suitcase through the living room, and left home. A cold wind hit my face. I shivered. I pulled the scarf tighter and dragged my suitcase into the night. There were few people in the neighborhood. Occasionally someone coming home late hurried past, but no one noticed the little girl with a suitcase. The street light stretched my shadow and the suitcase's shadow long and thin. Actually, I'd long forgotten exactly where the orphanage was. I just followed vague memories, heading west. By the 4th traffic light, my arms were so sore I could barely lift them. This intersection was very wide. When I was halfway across, the suitcase suddenly got stuck in a depression in the road. I pulled hard but couldn't move it, so I crouched down, trying to lift the suitcase. Just then, a blinding light shone from the right, so bright I couldn't open my eyes. I heard the sharp screech of brakes, then something heavy slammed into me. It didn't hurt. Really, it didn't hurt at all. I just felt myself flying, light as a feather. Then I saw my suitcase overturned on the ground, its contents scattered everywhere. I fell to the ground. My vision began to blur, my ears buzzing. Many footsteps ran over. Many voices shouted, but they all sounded muffled, as if through thick glass, distant and unclear. The next time I was conscious, I found myself floating in midair. Looking down, I saw a circle of people gathered on the road. In the middle lay a little girl wearing a red scarf, her belongings scattered around her. Her eyes were closed. She looked peaceful. When I saw her face clearly, I was startled. That was me. The ambulance's red lights were flashing. The blue lights rotated, illuminating everyone's faces in flickering brightness and shadow. Medical personnel crouched beside me, doing something. Then they shook their heads regretfully and took out a white cloth, gently covering that small body. The white cloth was quickly stained red at one corner, like plum blossoms blooming in snow. I finally understood. So I died. That was fine. This way, the kids at the orphanage wouldn't have a chance to laugh at me. The crowd gradually dispersed. Police arrived, taking photos and setting up police tape. My suitcase was picked up and placed beside the police car. But where should I go? I didn't know. But before that, I really wanted to see Mom and Dad one more time. The wind blew, and though I felt no cold, I drifted with it. Drifting to the intersection, I saw a familiar car, Dad's black sedan, slowly driving past the accident scene, like grabbing a lifeline. I chased after it, passing through the closed window and landing in the back seat beside my brother. Inside the car was warm, the air conditioning humming. There were so many people gathered back there. Mom's voice came from the passenger seat. Did something happen? Dad glanced at the rearview mirror. Looked like a car accident. I saw ambulances and police cars. My brother sat beside me, concentrating on playing with a new remote control car. Its lights flashed on and off so pretty. The amusement park was so fun. My brother suddenly looked up, eyes sparkling. "Mom, can we go again?" Mom smiled at him gently. "Of course. We'll go again this weekend. I want cotton candy too." My brother swung his little legs. "We'll buy it, all of it." Dad smiled at him through the rearview mirror. "Did you have fun today?" "Yes." The atmosphere in the car was light and happy. Mom scrolled through photos on her phone from today, laughing from time to time. Dad hummed along with the car radio. My brother continued playing with his new toy. I watched the 3 of them, suddenly feeling a sharp ache in my chest. Sure enough, this family was just fine without me. Oh, right. Mom suddenly remembered something and pulled a box from her handbag. I almost forgot this. My eyes lit up. It was a brand new astronaut model, identical to the one my brother had broken. We searched so many stores. Thank goodness we found the last one. Mom carefully inspected the packaging. "It's the same as Lily's, right?" Dad glanced at it. "Exactly the same. She'll definitely love it." "You really shouldn't have said that to Lily." Mom's voice carried a gentle reproach. "She's still a child. Evan broke her favorite toy, of course she'd be upset. I just got carried away in the moment." Dad touched his nose. Okay, my fault." Mom put the box back carefully. "Lily's probably still sulking right now. When we get home, you take the new toy and make it up to her." "Got it." Dad's voice softened. "Did we get the strawberry cake?" "Got it. From Lily's favorite shop." Mom turned to look at the back seat, her gaze tender. "And new hair clips too, the star-shaped ones she likes." My brother held up the remote control car. "Does Lily get a new toy too?" "Of course she does." Mom smiled. Everyone gets one. I looked at that brand new astronaut, at the anticipation on Mom's face, at the hint of apology in Dad's eyes. Suddenly, I understood everything. So they weren't abandoning me after all. So they came back solely not to force me to leave, but because they'd run to several stores just to buy me an identical new model. So they'd also bought strawberry cake and star hair clips, and had already planned what to say to apologize. So they still left me, but it was too late. The car drove into the neighborhood and parked. Mom carried the cake box. Dad carefully held the astronaut model. They went upstairs laughing, discussing how to surprise me. I followed behind them, passing through door after door, returning home. The living room light came on. Lily, we're home. Mom's voice carried a smile. Look what Mom and Dad got you. No one answered. Dad placed the astronaut model on the coffee table, right next to the cracked old one. One old, one new like twins. Is she asleep? Mom said softly, tiptoeing toward my room. I followed her. She gently pushed open the door, speaking softly. Lily, Mom's coming in. The room was quiet, with only the occasional sound of wind rustling the leaves outside. Lily? Are you asleep? Mom called again, her voice even softer. She waited a few seconds, receiving no response from me, hearing no rustling of blankets. The room light was turned on. The bed was neatly made, the blanket folded squarely. Mom's breathing quickened. Nathan, come here. Her voice began to tremble. Lily's gone. Dad came over, glanced into the room, and his expression immediately darkened. This child is getting more and more out of control. His voice shook with anger. Just because I said a few words to her, she's playing run away with me. Keep your voice down. Mom glanced at Evan and tugged at Dad's arm. Don't scare the child. Dad's voice got louder. To buy her an identical toy, we went to 3 stores. And she has the nerve to walk out over a little criticism? So inconsiderate. Mom collapsed onto my bed, her hand touching the smooth sheets. It's so late. Where could she have gone? Where else? She's just trying to spite us. Dad paced around the room. Don't worry, she can't have gone far. When she gets cold and hungry, she'll come back on her own. Evan stood in the doorway holding his remote control car, asking timidly, where did Lily go? Your sister was naughty and snuck out. Dad said irritably. Don't worry about her. Let her think things through. But Mom wanted to say something. No buts. Dad cut her off. You spoil her too much. At such a young age, she dares to run away from home? Ridiculous. Evan's voice came from the living room. Mom, I'm hungry. Can I have cake? Mom wiped her eyes and stood up. Go ahead. They returned to the living room. Mom opened the cake box. Bright red strawberries were arranged in a circle on the cream. She cut the cake into 4 pieces, giving one to Dad, one to Evan, then looked at the piece with the most strawberries and said softly, this piece is for Lily. I watched them sit at the dining table. Evan ate happily, cream all over his face. Dad ate his cake in silence, his expression still ugly. Mom ate in small bites, but her eyes kept fixed on the front door. It's so sweet. Evan said. Is Lily sweet too? Sweet. Mom touched his head. We'll save it for when Lily comes back. But your sister can't come back anymore. I wanted to say it, but I couldn't make a sound. After dinner, they put Evan to bed. Evan lay in a small bed, holding his new remote control car. When will Lily come back? Very soon. Mom tucked in his blanket. Close your eyes and sleep. You'll see your sister tomorrow morning. Then I'll let Lily play with my new toy too. Evan said softly. Okay, you can share with Lily. The light went off. Mom gently closed the door. In the living room, the clock pointed to 10:30. Dad sat on a sofa, staring at his phone. The screen was lit, but he wasn't really looking at anything. He just kept opening Snapchat, closing it, opening it, closing it. Mom paced back and forth in the living room, walking to the window for the 3rd time to look down. Nathan, she finally couldn't hold it in. Let's go out and look for her. Look for what? Dad didn't look up, though his voice lacked conviction. Let her come back on her own, but it's so cold outside. And she's so small. Mom's voice took on a tearful quality. Dad said nothing, but his fingers gripping the phone tightened. The clock on the wall went tick-tock, tick-tock. 11 o'clock. Dad suddenly stood up and grabbed his coat. Let's go. They rushed out the door. I followed behind, watching them search the neighborhood, search the children's playground, search every path while calling my name. Lily. Lily. Mom's voice scattered in the night wind, carrying increasingly obvious panic. Her voice was already getting hoarse, but she kept shouting, call after call. Dad initially kept a stern face, but soon he too grew anxious. He ran to the security office to check the surveillance footage and saw the small figure on the screen dragging a blue suitcase, walking out of the neighborhood gate at 9:08. She actually took a suitcase? Dad's face went white. Mom covered her mouth. Tears finally fell. They drove out to search, following the western route, street by street. Mom kept her face pressed against the car window, looking outside, murmuring, Lily. Lily, where are you? Dad said nothing, but the car went faster and faster. They searched for a long time, long enough for the shops along the road to turn off their lights one by one, long enough for all the pedestrians on the street to disappear. The air in the car grew heavier and more oppressive. After driving through another empty street, Dad pulled the car over to the side of the road. He gripped the steering wheel and stayed silent for a long time. Let's call the police. Mom forced out these 3 words. Dad nodded and picked up his phone. Before he could dial, the screen lit up first. The ringtone exploded in the quiet car, piercingly anxiety-inducing. He glanced at an unknown number. He answered impatiently. Hello? I leaned over and heard a calm male voice on the other end. Is this the parent of Lily Harper? This is Central City Hospital.